Okay, obviously that's not true. I haven't played a Pokemon game since Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out in 2014, but have been feeling inspired to revisit all these little friends. But what if the friends I was using were ever changing? I thought it might be a fun idea to do a solo run of the current Pokemon generation, specifically Pokemon Violet, with a constantly rotating team. There's a mechanic in modern Pokemon games that Violet refers to as surprise trading, which allows you to connect with random players across the world and trade one of your Pokemon for one of theirs. The idea is to trade away the Pokemon in use upon collecting a badge, allowing me to travel alongside 9 different Pokemon over the course of defeating gyms and advancing to the Elite Four. Am I gonna grow to regret this decision? I don't know, watch the video. Hello, friend. You're mine now. In the region of Paldea, our main character is about to embark on a pursuit of not only Pokemon battling, but also academia, as the game opens up with us on our way to our first day of school. Somewhere along the way, we meet the director of Yuva Academy, Professor Clavel, who's curious to know how the first school commute went. And since we're already talking about it, Clavel hit on my mom. I met the most insufferable person in town. I picked out my very first Pokemon that I traded away as soon as I was able because I have very confusing attachment issues. My mom packed me a lunch. The girl who decided we're friends now convinced me to investigate after hearing the cry of an unknown being causing me to fall off a cliff. I found a robotic dragon. Hello, celestial being. Here's the sandwich my mom made me this morning. Met the second most insufferable person in town who decides to dump this robotic dragon on me, the kid who moved into town 2 days ago, turned my new little bug friend into a pillar of quartz, not before getting accosted outside the academy by some hooligans that were harassing a cone of Costco mixed swirl. Yeah, the commute went great. Has 4th period started yet? I wouldn't want to be late. It's an RPG, right? So there's gonna be a lot of exposition. But that's not even all of it, and it took an hour and a half! There are 3 major characters that we'll focus on for the time being, as they relate most heavily to the game's progression. The first of which is Nemona, a fellow trainer from the academy that has already passed the champion assessment in Paldea and is hungry to battle at any given moment. Then Arven, who's a student as well, and son to this region's main Pokemon Professor Turo. He also likes cooking. Finally, the more enigmatic of the 3, a hacker of some kind, Cassiopeia, who takes their namesake from everyone's favorite Japanese jazz fusion band that they like to pretend is more underground than they actually are. They have that one song that goes like, I don't know how to play guitar, man. Do you know how many takes it took to get just that? The way these 3 tie into the story is with how Yuva Academy goes about teaching their students, not requiring any in-class time, which is so based. Yeah, the school stuff gets thrown to the wayside pretty quickly. You can go to class if you want, but it's not essential to beating the game, and the rewards really aren't worth investing any time into. Yuva Academy sends students out on what they call a treasure hunt, which, and I'm not kidding, means whatever you want it to mean. For some, their treasure hunt may be to take on all the gym leaders and take the champion assessment. For others, it may be to take on ferocious beasts found in the wild and discover the mystical ecology of Paldea. Or, for some, stopping gang activity. And luckily for us, our treasure hunt is involuntarily about all 3. That's where our 3 side characters come in, each of them pushing you to further progress in a different aspect of what ultimately becomes the treasure hunt you embark on throughout the duration of the game. So finally, let's talk about my first little friend, German Nimble. To get this whole video premise started, I traded the Fuecoco I picked up as my starter Pokemon away and got this Nimble in return. It's the main bug representative of Paldea and representative of how I expect most of these trades to go. I didn't come into this thinking I was going to get a Caesar or something. It's mostly going to be throwaways. But now that I have the prologue finished, I can finally get started on my journey. Where do I go? So Paldea has like a pseudo open world type thing going on. You can access a good chunk of the map from the get-go, so I thought using my bug type Pokemon on the Psychic Gym would be a smart idea with the type advantage in my favor. But I made it over to the path that leads to the town where the gym is, and I couldn't make it over this Oh, by the way, the robotic dragon Pokemon Miraidon that Arven let us keep earlier, you get to ride it as a goddamn motorcycle. And part of me wants to appreciate how brilliantly stupid that is, but ultimately I think I'm just mad, so I can't get to the Psychic Gym. Unlucky, but the Bug Gym is nearby, which sounds like it could be easy enough anyways. So I work my way over there, enter the gym, and find out that I have to take a gym test. My impression before I started this was that I was gonna fight a few trainers, do a few puzzles, legacy stuff. Yeah. Well, that just happened. All of the gyms have tests like these, that aren't all quite like this, but are all tremendously underwhelming. I'm assuming they're meant to add more depth to the process of going to a gym, which gameplay-wise I understand even if I think it was executed poorly, but thematically makes no sense. Fighting trainers to see if you're capable of fighting a more capable trainer checks out, but this Bring me your finest fighter. Regardless, we're granted permission to take on the bug gym leader, Katie. I wasn't having much trouble until I made it to her final Pokemon, which was a Teddy Ursa. I want you to imagine, in the wild, a grasshopper. Then, a bear cub. When imagining these two, did you happen to imagine the bear cub spawning on top of the grasshopper? You got a lot of foresight, friend. The bug gym wasn't gonna work, and thankfully I came to that conclusion pretty quickly. Since I had plenty of options to work with, I head over to the east end of the map and take on the grass gym where I would have an actual type advantage. The gym test here, once again, doesn't require you to do any battling. Instead, this test is to go on a scavenger hunt for some Sunflora. Enough people have pulverized the performance of this game into the ground, and I don't need to add to that. But to be transparent, what you're seeing now is not an abnormality. We're up against grass gym leader Brassius. Fuck. I want you to imagine, in the wild, a grasshopper. Then, a giant fucking boulder. Dude's got a pseudo-wooda with rock throw. I'm cooked. Obviously, this wasn't gonna work either in Nimble's current state. But as it turns out, at level 24, Nimble evolves. Now might be a good time to mention Terra Raids, and I'm sorry, I'm hoping the explaining of mechanics ends here. Terra Raids are things that show up on the map where you're able to face off against one booked up Pokemon in a very Pokemon Go fashion, and in return you get experience candies. Depending on the difficulty of the raid, you'll get candies that offer more experience. This is almost exclusively how I grinded throughout the course of my playthrough. To save on the repetition, I'm not going to mention every time I get a new Pokemon that we spent a couple hours in the mines grinding out candies, partially to be less annoying, but mostly so I don't have to think about this song again. If at any point it seems like I'm jumping into battles a little too prematurely, I grinded, I used the candies, I moved on. I had done one earlier and had some candies lying around, so I used them on Nimble to evolve it into Low Kicks, who is comparatively pretty dope. And with the help of Low Kicks and the 8 levels it had on the Pokemon it was fighting, it swept Brassius' team without any concern, awarding us with the Grass Badge. After the fight, Nimona calls to pat herself on the back for getting me to take on the gyms.
You don't get to take credit for me beating the gym leader.
And with that, it's time to say goodbye to the first of our friends as they go to a trainer named Ivy, who in return gives us...
Who is it? No way! Okay. Wait, hold on.
Through this playthrough, I was expecting to get a Pidgey, Yongoose, Woobat, but suddenly I had found this diamond in the rough that was not only an insane Pokemon to get my hands on, but also level 75? I couldn't wait to test this thing out and noticed there was something relating to the Arven storyline nearby. It's a massive cloth that the two of you take out together once it starts to get a little too familiar with the secret menu. What does that fucking mean? Aside from the Caesar spending most of its time not listening to me because of how high level it was, the fight with Cloth was nothing once we were actually able to get our hands on it. After it's defeated, Arven and I trek into the Cloth's lair to find a plant that he refers to as a type of Herba Mystica. I hope I said that right.
The sweet Herba Mystica is good for gut health. Dude, we took out this, like, massive crab just to go to find antibiotics.
This is what the Arven storyline is all about. For some reason, he's researching these plants, and we get to tag along so that we can feed them to Miraidon so it can get additional powers, like this time, where it gained the ability to scoot around faster. By the end of the interaction, Arven gives me a badge.
I don't like that terminology.
I didn't know this coming in, but you get badges for all of these events shown on the map. And with that contingency, the total Pokemon I expected to use in this challenge jumped from 9 to, assuming that the Arven and Cassiopeia storylines wrap up in an Elite Four type of way, 21! And worse, we have to say goodbye to the shiny new Caesar we got for a...
Okay, that's cool, I guess.
At least in the case of Caesar, it was stupidly overleveled, but Girafarig is in a weird spot of being too high level for me to control, but too low level that if it spends too many turns not attacking, it gets knocked out pretty quickly. I want to give myself as much of an advantage as I can, so I evolved Girafarig into its new Gen 9 evolution, Farigiraf, and set my sights on a nearby landmark for the Cassiopeia storyline. This storyline has to do with the game's enemy team, Team Star. Cassiopeia wants to eradicate Team Star for unknown reasons, and when approaching this base of theirs, we were met by...
Oh, that's just the dean of the school. The name's Clive.
The director of Yuva Academy, Clavel, if you remember him, has gone undercover to participate in the destruction of Team Star, Operation Starfall. Our goal is to raid each of the Team Star bases and lure out their bosses. Their bosses are surprisingly jovial and will accept any challenge that comes their way and forfeit their title if they lose in a Pokemon battle. It sounds simple enough, but in order to get into the base, you have to have at least 3 Pokemon in your party. Okay, no problem. As long as I don't use the Pokemon in a regular battle setting, I'd consider that within the bounds that I've made. So I collect 2 Pokemon and surprise trade them away to stay on theme, getting a Charmander and an Igglybuff. I approach the gate with this team, and I don't have enough Pokemon that will obey me, so I'm actually thinking of fucking up that Teddiursa instead. I got the Bug Badge instead. A bit unceremoniously, I just finished Katie off because I didn't want anything to do with Farigiraf anymore with its inconsistent attack patterns. After collecting this badge, we crossed paths with a man named Hassel. He mentions that Nemona was the youngest Paldean to ever achieve champion rank. I don't care! Bring me my rat, please! I guess I could have expected to get a Pikachu at some point, but it never really crossed my mind and was a welcome addition to the cast. And you know what? There's a flying type something listed on the map nearby, and I'd love to check it out. It's a giant stork, and on theme, just as a newborn fresh out of the womb always says, I've got a body. I got bodied. Okay, so maybe we don't get the flying badge this time. It's okay. We can always try Team Star. We haven't taken out one of their bases yet. Maybe they're really cool. I just want to love you, baby. Why won't you let me love you? Once you enter a Team Star base, you start off with something called a Star Barrage, where you are given 10 minutes to defeat 30 of Team Star's Pokemon in quick battles. In a similar vein to the gym tests, these add an extra layer to interacting with the enemy team, but again, are brutally underwhelming. There's no layer of strategy, no thought, just go get them. After taking out the Team Star grunts, the boss of the base storms in with the most glammed out cars, snapback, and headphones combo that screams, an ironically said swag from 2013 to 2015. Giacomo is a dark type trainer, DJ, and certified viber who doesn't pose too much of a threat until he runs over my Pikachu with his car. Clearly, from these 2 encounters already, Pikachu isn't cutting it. So like any good trainer, I threw a single rock at my underperforming Pokemon, only for it to become actually kind of viable. I took this stat escalation to try and beat the Flying Titan again, only to defeat it in one turn with Raichu's supercharged fists and Arven's rocks. As it went last time, and as it will continue to go, we found another Herba Mística after this escapade and gain our 4th badge. Miraidon gets another Sammy, gains the ability to swim, and goes in for seconds, but Daddy Arven freaks out since the sandwich is for someone else. But who? Who, Daddy Arven?
Oh, no. No. Don't make me look at this. Don't make me care about this guy.
Arven's longtime friend, a Pokemon named Mabostiff, as you can see, is in pretty bad shape. It got hurt a while back bad enough that traditional means of healing weren't cutting it, which led Arven to start looking into other means of healing Mabostiff. He then came across a book belonging to his dad that mentioned the Herba Mística. And that brings us to now, where Mabostiff is eating and his eyes are open. Yay, that was so nice. You know what isn't? Salandit is a silly little creature because it does evolve, but only if it's female. 87.5% of all Salandits are male, further proving it probably proves something. Salandit gave me a very hard time. Feeling kinda directionless with it, I went where everyone in the real world goes when they feel directionless. The normal gym. There we meet up with Nemona, who I'm as happy as always to see. We have a quick battle because I'm just her little meat sack and lose unsurprisingly, so I take time to grind at some point along the way learning Nasty Plot and Incinerate. This makes me feel like I can continue my normal gym affairs as intended. The normal gym's gym test actually has you battling some trainers, and battling them felt the same way as turning up to your first powerlifting meet. I wouldn't have come here if I didn't feel strong, but some of these people are just strong. So Salandit is proving to be a not-so-promising prospect, and what are you gonna do, right? Kick a whole high school gang out of a territory they've claimed that makes them feel like they finally belong somewhere? The Team Star fight I tried earlier got significantly more doable with Salandit, abusing the Nasty Plot Incinerate combo I mentioned earlier. All I had to do was max out my special attack, and with a matter of minutes, Giacomo was filing an insurance claim for damage from exposure to fire over an extended period of time. A common theme of defeating a Team Star boss is a small flashback that provides some insight into each Team Star boss's roles and relationships with other members. These aren't really interesting. The most important piece of information to come out of this one is Giacomo mentioning someone called a Big Boss. We get the Dark Badge, and Clive comes in to question Giacomo on why he would risk expulsion from Yuva Academy just to hang out with Team Star, to which he replies that Big Boss is a friend of theirs that they're waiting on to rejoin the group. Big Boss was the one who formed the group, and I would find it really ironic if Big Boss was focusing on their studies while all this was happening. Cassiopeia calls. This game does not want you to play it. I swear to God, you get stopped at every possible opportunity. Eat a plant? Let me tell you about this power you got. Leave the cave you ate the plant in? Let me tell you about this power you got. Beat a trainer because you want to enter a base? Let me tell you that since you beat the trainer, you're able to enter the base. Like, yes, I know, that's why I did what I did, and I do what I do. Just let me figure it out myself. Cassiopeia called to say nothing. Told me that they'd send someone to give me a reward. A girl named Penny arrives, which is the same girl that I originally fought Team Star to protect on my first day of school, who happens to be a hacker as well. She leaves. I finally get to say goodbye to Salandit. Sorry if I seemed bitter through all this. It may have only been 2.5 minutes for you, but for me it was 2 hours. What the fuck is this? Scatterbug may have been the Pokemon I spent the least amount of time with, only because I evolved it out the gate with candies. Vivillon, on the other hand, stuck around with me for 3 hours! We started off by getting Vivillon Psybeam and wanted to take on the Poison Team Star leader Don Atticus for the type advantage. And who's his first Pokemon other than Skuntank? A Pokemon with an immunity to the one move that is the only reason I came here in the first place. I lose! I think, well, normal's still an easy bet, right? Nope. I still can't get past the Ursaring. Could you just... do whatever you please? My eyes glance over to the water gym for no other reason than it's close by, only for the gym leader to sprint past me once I arrive outside to challenge him. I chat with the gym coordinator, who says that he's off to a market in a nearby town but forgot his wallet. My gym test this time around is to give him his wallet. Why would you trust a random 10-year-old stranger with someone else like a Wingle or something? I'm a kleptomaniac, and you're not going to find that out until you lose your job. I go to give him his wallet. A trainer battles me so the gym leader can buy ingredients in peace. I beat him, and we catch up to Kofu, the water gym leader, and an unreasonably trusting man. Kofu came to participate in an auction happening in this town, and the final item for sale is a special seaweed from Hoenn. And wanting to test my smarts, he gives me 50,000 Pokemon dollars to buy it at the auction for him. Who's testing whose smarts? I win the seaweed for him, and he lets me keep all the money I didn't spend, which if Pokemon dollars are equivalent to yen, because that makes sense in my head, dude just gave me almost $100, and the only reason I did it wasn't because I wanted to drain his wallet. I wanted to drain his will. When it came to actually battling him, I lost the first time around and was nearing my current level cap of whatever it was at the time. I don't care anymore. I know that I'm wrong now. After I stopped playing Violet, I found out that apparently the level cap only applies to Pokemon that are obtained at a higher level than the cap, rather than being trained beyond that level. So in this instance, and a few more to come, I was overreacting. But basically, I was getting worried that Vivillon would stop obeying, making the gym way harder. I booked it to find a Giga Drain TM and took out Kofu's team with no worries. After our battle, I'm intercepted by a woman who introduces herself as Gita, the chairwoman of the Pokemon League. She then says, goodbye. This game is so insistent on introducing you to characters in such a shallow way so you feel connected to them. Sending Vivillon on her way. In return, I get a Charmander. Little fellow with an eye for destruction. I felt so confident with this pull. I wasted no time grinding my way up into getting a Charizard, and the ice gym was looking delicious. Here we meet another Elite Four member, Rika, who's accompanied by Hassel. They warned me that the gym challenges are only going to get more difficult, and the point that I'm at now is the point that average trainers start to bow out. Little do they know, I'm not your average trainer. Uh-oh. I thought I was prepared to take on some Ice-type Pokemon, but wasn't prepared to take on some level 47 Ice-type Pokemon. At this point, I'm way overthinking my understanding of level caps too, and I'm worried about attempting this battle too many times and getting too much experience, so I start hard resetting after every attempt. I was getting more into the weeds with this battle than I had any other battle yet. I started off just giving Charizard a charcoal, fought again, lost again, found the TM for Sunny Day, fought again, lost again, realized that having both was unnecessary and swapped the charcoal for a Citrus Berry, fought again, lost again, and after that failure, you know what I did? I went back to the normal gym, because rather than being directionless, I'd become so enticed by a single direction, I didn't realize I was slamming into a brick wall for countless hours. Ursaring gets bodied this time around, and we're able to make some good forward momentum in this gym test. The concept of this one basically is to defeat trainers, they'll tell you a phrase, then you use those phrases to order a secret menu item at the local restaurant. The dish being ordered causes the restaurant's patrons to disappear, and an arena is laid out for you to battle against a middle-aged salaryman who is just trying to enjoy the 30-minute lunch he has in his 12-hour workday, enforcing the idea that the working class will bend to your beck and call, even if you're just a 10-year-old in a silly little hat. We're introduced to Larry, whose team is pretty underwhelming until Facade. I don't know what Facade does. Facade does big damage, but thankfully, with my Charizard, experienced in the ways of losing, decided it would happen no more and we acquire the normal badge. Nimona comes in to tell me that she's not going to battle me and then runs away like some stupid prank that only her and Sneeko viewers would find funny. I got a Gyarados. The time with Gyarados was similar to the time spent with Caesar. I honed in on the ground Titan and was soon met with something pretty reminiscent of both Miraidon and Donphan. A Miraidon fan, if you would. I wouldn't. In the same way as Caesar, Gyarados did a lot of missing, but when she hit like a damn bus. Even though this Titan is very much a robot, it follows the same pattern of going into its cave to chow down on some herba mística, going into whatever bionic chamber it's being ground down in. Gyarados decimates Big Boy. Arvin wastes no time snatching up that herba mística. Great for boosting your overall health. He gives me the ground badge. Miraidon can glide now. Mabostiff is vocal again. Yahoo! I'm so tired. It sucks that it feels like all the really cool Pokemon are getting traded away super fast, but that's okay, because next up is...
What the fuck is that?
Ice Cube is a penguin with its head encased in ice.
Does this thing evolve?
It doesn't.
If I remember right, ice is good against steel.
It's not.
I'll try the steel thing first.
That doesn't make sense.
Rumor has it the thing's staggeringly huge and real long. They make it too easy.
Once entering the area of the Steel Titan, Ice Cube and I spent some time in an unsuccessful game of whack-a-mole, which we were able to actually catch up to and, unsurprisingly, not have our best battle against the Steel Titan, but we were very close. Feeling confident that with a little more juice we could win, I bought and equipped Ice Cube with a muscle band, which increases the damage output of physical moves. And boy did that ever prove the effects of placebo, because I used special moves the entire time and made Steel Titan Earthworm Baby Rage, which continued to the second phase of its fight where it hit itself more than once and went down even easier than before. Arvin.
Herba mística. Herba mística.
Arvin, you've met before. Our routine resumes. Arvin hands over the steel badge, cooks up a gnarly Sammy that makes Miraidon act like it's never seen food before. This is your 4th magic sandwich. 5th if you include the one my mom made, because that woman knows how to tear it up between 2 slices of bread. Miraidon jumps higher now, and Arvin mentions that Miraidon used to look a little different and have a battle form it would hang out in rather than being in Harley form, theorizing some kind of psychological trauma. Mabostiff makes no progress, but he's just a little old man. I like him. I'll give him a bye. And while I'm at it, I'll say bye to Ice Cube. Smell ya never, big guy. Ew. I'm just kidding. Penguins are actually my favorite animals. Just more like this and less like this. Bringing in our first stage 1 evolution is Skiploom, part of an evolutionary line I'm actually pretty fond of. The line's designs take a hard turn by the time they make it to Jumpluff, but a turn for the better rather than this robbery. I waste no time evolving it into a Jumpluff and target the electric gym to take advantage of the type neutrality the Pokemon there will have against us.
I hate Nimona. 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 I hate Nimona.
Nimona intercepts me before I can take the gym test because she's looking for help on her new ginger molasses cookie recipe she's working on. Of course not. She's after my body. I'm her little battle boy. Luckily for me this time, she didn't have a team ready, so I continue on to the gym test, which is just Where's Waldo? But instead of trying to find a charming striped man with a cane, we're trying to find a midlife crisis man with a pompadour. Clavel is somehow shoehorned into this gym test with a couple fights sprinkled in between searches. Once wrapping up our I Spy challenge, we move on to the electric gym leader, Iono, who's a streamer. They lean into the more obnoxious parts about streamer personalities, like having their own clicky lingo, being very shameless about view counts, and the occasional slip of racism or two. When it came to her gym battle, I was more over-leveled than I realized, but her team put up a pretty good fight. Knowing though that Jumpluff's power is pretty limited, I kinda went for a lame strategy. By more lame, I mean setting up Leech Seed and keeping a steady stream of sleep powder going rather than just running full force into each of her Pokemon. Because of that, the battle dragged on for a bit, but we were able to take her out and leave with the electric gym badge in tow. On my way out of the gym, I met again by Gita, who expresses confidence that at this rate, I should be able to achieve champion rank.
I don't like her. I don't like her. I don't want her. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Nemona takes time to interrupt our conversation and let it slip that Gita is the champion of the Pokemon League, as well as their chairwoman, and insists on embarrassing me now in battle. Thank you, Nemona! Goodbye, Nemona! For as much as I like Jumpluff, she isn't conducive to winning battles like this, but Scorbunny on the other hand? See, I don't know a whole lot about the Pokemon of the Galar region, but starter Pokemon normally have some pretty solid stats. And boy oh boy, do I ever have some unfinished business with a certain Paldean ski hill. What else am I to do but pump this bunny full of the juice? Scorbunny's final evolution, Cinderace, gets this move called Pyro Ball. That's damage output is normally reserved for moves that would have some kind of negative effect to using them. But on this one, Game Freak literally said, "Fuck 'em, we ball," and made Cinderace an absolute monster. After some grinding, I feel confident, and we make our way back to the ice gym to take on Gym Leader Grusha once more. Frostmoth, one shot. Beartic, one shot. Cetitan? No fucking way, dude. My shit got rocked so hard it pushed my voice up a few octaves. That display was upsetting to say the least, but I remembered. A relic from battles past, the badge of a fallen soldier, Carbon Incarnate. I threw the charcoal that I had originally used on Charizard for this same fight, and watched on as Cinderace took out member after member of Grusha's team. With Cinderace's overwhelming power, we were able to claim the Ice Badge, only putting us at 11 total. And with this thread nicely tied up, I think I'll stop this journey here for now. For as much as I would love for this to be a 50+ minute long video, I will shamelessly admit that I wanted to post this video before the Indigo Disc DLC came out. You can see how that went. I hate two-parters, but you gotta capitalize on game relevance. If you want, join me next time. If you don't, you've made an enemy for life. At least water that pothos back there. I don't think the leaves are supposed to look like that.